Well, you're live.
We're live?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Well, welcome to the the podcast. Yeah, welcome to the Plank Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Wayne Stollenfacher. We are here today with Casey Wise, the one, the only. Is he an insider? He's an outsider? I don't know. We're going to find out. We'll talk to him a little more. And we also have the voice of God, which is Nick Higginson.
Hello.
Nick, say hi.
Oh, hi.
There we go. So the voice of God, he comes in. We also have Top Ramen here, but we can't call him Top Ramen. That's copyrighted. So if anyone's got a name for Mr. Ramen Guy, just write in the comments below. Something fun. Maybe Casey will come up with something.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. And Noodlehead is all I got, and that's kind of... Yeah.
Yeah, I'll think on it a little bit. I'm usually pretty creative.
Sweet. Well, Casey, you've been a guitar player for as long as I remember, and I think I've known you for at least a decade, right?
At least over that.
Yeah. So that's the funny thing when your stories go from years to decades.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you start getting gray stuff coming in. That's freakier yet.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're playing bass.
Yeah.
So no better way to start because we had Brett in last week.
Yeah.
Talking about, everything at Flatland, and somehow this is you've known Brett forever, probably since the Marguerites days.
Yep. Yeah, I got my first guitar from him when I was 15.
I just met him last week because, man, why do I got to buy guitars for? So.
Yeah, right. Oh, no, I've been doing business with him and Paul for such a long time, and, I have good rapport with both of them, and, I mean, they're just rock solid dudes, fun to hang out with, tons of knowledge, right?
Yeah, it seems so.
So, I mean, I just love, all the cool relics that I've seen them get over the years, even, in the Marguerites days and even to today. It's seeing, some of the cool guitars that they get in is just a sight to behold, really, for me anyways.
Well, my whole thing when I was talking to him last week is, how the guitar industry is still churning along, and he's just it hasn't stopped. It's growing.
Yeah.
And I'm... just me being in live bands and seeing the venues feel like they're shrinking. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place, but that's fun bringing you guys in is being able to see this other stuff. You talked about another live place that they had metal going. I forget the name at the moment. Maybe the voice of God can figure it out for us, but but it's somewhere behind Broadway or whatever else where people actually go and play not covers, but they play the original stuff.
Parachicos?
What was that?
Parachicos?
Chicos?
Parachicos.
Parachicos.
Something like that. I'll look it up.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. But I didn't know that existed. I was just where do people play anymore? It's the Red Raven kind of went away, but it's still around. Do they have live music there anymore?
Well, and, I think...
You got the aquarium, but that's still kind of exclusive.
Yeah, because didn't we play at the Red Raven, once in that basement, and then, the following day, a bunch of shit got stolen? I remember that basement.
I do too.
Because I remember I was scrambling for an amp.
So.
I remember that day very well.
It was Parachico.
Parachico?
Oh, cool.
Parachico.
Yeah.
Parachico.
Parachico, like a
Go.
G?
Yep.
Chigo. Parachigo. Okay.
I'm not in the room.
We
He's
got to
looking at a
find
speaker.
people that work there or whatever else, have them on the pod. We got to talk about that. 'Cause that's key. That's getting people out there and doing that. But he said, the sales and stuff have gone up. And I'm where are all these instruments going? Are they going into bedrooms? Are they going into collections? Is it just a bunch of boomers buying stuff?
I would assume that it would be both. Because you got a lot of people that are, with YouTube being so just there all the time.
Yeah.
You see people that are are these kids that are 14? Younger?
Yeah, and they're shredding.
Yeah, and they're shredding. And I'm I quit. I'm done.
That's the wrong thing. You're
I know,
supposed to
right?
Look at that and be motivated and be hey.
Yeah. But it was it's super cool at the same time because it's kind of streamlining the whole guitar process in a way. Because I have heard so many stories from a variety of different people, from you, from Aaron, just everybody, on how they've learned music and everything. And
Yeah, we didn't
you
have
know,
YouTube. We had Guitar Magazine.
word
and
of
then
mouth.
Word of mouth. We figured out tabs, or else you did the really old-fashioned way where you put the tape on,
Right.
play it, then try to figure it out on the guitar, and then rewind it and try to figure it out again.
Or if you want it, or if you didn't
Which is
have
probably
it
the
on.
best way to learn, actually.
I know that my guitar teacher, he learned through vinyl.
Yeah, same idea.
Yeah. And that's something that we could segue into later because I've been collecting those too. But I know with me, like my introductory to learning was very. It was kind of a variety of like using like tabs, and YouTube was in its infancy at this point in there. There were videos on there that I would use to learn as well. But now it's like my whole system is like when I'm learning a song, like I'll listen to it like repeatedly and try to figure out what I can. But I use tablature. I go to like Songster, YouTube. I look up everything, try to see how much people or how
Guitar
people play
Tab
it.
Pro.
Yeah, that one too. So I do use a lot of those programs, and I try to figure out the best way to play it. So I'm kind of making a puzzle out of it. Like, sure, I have like the answer like right here, but sonically, how does it sound in my ear when I'm playing it with the tab compared to like, let's say a song or something?
Well, no, not say no tabs completely correct, but you know, a lot of them discrepancies. They're just trying to put stuff out.
And
too.
that's the best part about it is like if you find a discrepancy, it's just like, okay, there's a discrepancy here. What can I do to make that? Or okay, what's the answer? It's like trying to, like I said, find pieces to a
There's
puzzle.
your puzzle. Yes, there you go.
So that kind of that's what drives me with like the learning process. And some songs, it's like, okay, you know, it didn't take too terribly long to learn it, but it's like, okay, learning it's not the problem. It's actually mastering it. You know, like actually having it completely committed to memory where I don't need to have anything up. I can just listen it with my eyes closed and just play.
This is a beautiful way to go. It is. Oh, you don't have to think about what you're doing.
Well,
It just flows.
Yeah, my regimen used to be like for like on guitar and everything. Like I would make like a set list that I would want to learn, and then you know run through that back and forth if I could. And if I made one mistake, I started from the beginning again.
You're crazy.
Right.
Oh, yes. People talked to me about that back in the days when you're learning classical stuff. Like classical percussionists, you guys are nuts. Just putting it out there, you guys are just loco.
Yeah.
And allegedly loco. But it's like I'm learning
It's a
how to
good
play
one.
this tambourine part, or I'm trying to learn how to play this triangle part just perfectly so it's better than the next guy who plays triangle. And then literally you'll have like your excerpt little book out there, and you'll have a stack of pennies, and then you'll play it perfectly once, and you'll put that one penny over, and you'll play it perfectly twice, put that penny over, and then all of a sudden you'll miss it just a hair or something you just didn't like about it, and you stack the pennies back up until you get them all done again. And granted, are you going to get good at it? Yeah. But oh my gosh, I don't know. I think I'd drive myself crazy.
Are you guys that bored back there that you have to have games?
Yeah. Well, problem with percussion, there's too many toys. Too many toys. So everything has its own technique, or someone's developed something better about it, or whatever else. Or you can buy, you know, the four VHS set of, you know, someone doing like djembe or whatever else you want to talk about. Castanets. What am I looking at?
Oh, I was looking at the TV. I thought we had live feedback on our end,
No.
so we can see.
Oh, no.
Oh,
No, we're
Okay.
just staring at cameras, so I'm looking at you.
I can definitely try if you guys just wanna
I'm just waving at all three.
go ahead and
Oh, so you got the catalogs of just stuff.
Yeah.
It's like learning 4-mallet marimba solos. It's like it I want to go back to it because I spent so much time doing it, and it's just kind of in the blood. So when you go back to it and it feels easy again, great. But what do you literally do with that?
Well, for me, like I just use it. I put it in a toolbox,
Okay.
like a bag of tricks almost. Like okay, like I learned this in a song. Okay, could I apply like maybe some of like the technique that was like neither in that passage or that solo into like my soloing and stuff like that, and kind of use it as like a technique builder, and just have that in like the backside of my brain if I ever need it in a pinch.
Fair enough.
I mean,
it's fair
like
enough.
when we
It's
were
just
like,
learning all these weird instruments for at least I'm just talking about percussion side,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just like after it's kind of like working on football your entire life, and then when you have that last game in college, and you're not going to the pros.
right,
There's a lot of work that you did to do this particular technique or whatever else that you're probably never going to touch again.
right.
So it's like, what do we do with that? And just, was it worth it? Maybe so, if it's for like the memories or whatever else, or just it's what you're building your past bond, like you're talking about. Is that they call that structure scaffolding, when you just stack upon
Yeah.
things like that. But that really lines up to what you're doing today, because now you're playing bass.
Yeah.
Because I've always known he's a guitar player.
Yeah.
And you're always a little shreddy boy.
Well, and it's funny because it's like a double full circle situation, right? So like I told you about my little sister who wanted to learn how to play bass because of me.
yeah, you're telling me about
Yeah.
that, but let's tell these guys about
So-
that. They don't know what's going on.
My younger sister asked me one day, she's just like, okay, where's the best place in town to get a bass guitar? I'm like, I got one that you can just have, and you just need to buy me. So I talked to her about it, and I'm just like, wait, who influenced you to play in the first place? She's just like, oh, you did, like very nonchalantly, and it meant a lot to me. So I gave the bass to her, and then it's been a couple years since we talked about that, and her skills have progressed, and I just got done buying a Jackson bass that I was eyeing. So I'm just like, I got this for a killer deal. I'm going to sell it to her for a killer deal too. So I left it with her for a week and see how she liked it. And she liked that the tone was way better than the practice one, because this is like an Ibanez GIO practice little one. And it's an okay bass, but it served its purpose.
But why did you want to buy that bass?
Because I started like,
Because you're a guitar player, and every like 3 weeks you got to go buy another one.
no. No, I'm going by Brett's rule of one shiny thing a year.
One a year?
That's what he told
Oh
me.
gosh.
So
I was eyeing out a drum kit last night. Nick, I don't know if I showed you that, but there's a drum kit in DL that I've been looking at now. After I bought a snare drum a couple weeks ago, and I'm just like, I don't buy drums. I just don't buy them anymore.
Oh yeah.
Can't afford anymore.
But like I started listening to like early like 80s hip hop and the 90s hip hop to like Tupac, Snoop, and all that stuff. Because my doctor medically cleared me for ND cannabis for my anxiety and all that stuff. So when I was experimenting with this new thing, I found that my sense of hearing went up. Like I felt different, and music felt different. Like it was elevated. As when you're in an elevated state, everything will be.
So a little more acute about what was happening in the mix of the songs.
But the thing that I noticed the most is that I could hear the bass clearer than a lot of things, and the kick, the snare, and everything. Like the guitars and everything, to me, like my brain was actively canceling those out, and it's like, no, you need to be focusing on this.
The foundation.
So, the bass is something I've always wanted, because I've always wanted to get, like, with my videos, I've always wanted to do my own bass tracks and stuff like that. So now I'm like, okay, I got the Jackson, made my own like tone and everything on my Helix and everything like that, so I can use my guitar rig and my bass rig on the same floor station. Like I was watching a video for a guy doing a Ghost cover, and he's a hell of a bass player, and I just saw like the bass that he had and everything. I'm like, that just can't be. It can't be just the bass on its own. Like that, there has to be like tone manipulation or something. Not fully knowing anything about the company that I chose in general, I just knew that they sold basses. I didn't know that they sounded as good as they say. So
Oh, interesting. So you're watching this guy do a Ghost cover, and
Yeah.
it sounds almost like a guitar? Am I stretching too far?
no, his tone was just perfect.
Obviously, it's a bass guitar, but yeah.
It was just perfect. I literally cannot explain it. Like his tone, like there was no wrong answer in his tone. Like it was like
No wrong
everything
answer.
was mixed well, and like his tone was just so damn clear, and his low end just had that meatiness to it, but his high end had the brightness too. And I'm just like, I like that kind of sound in like bass playing where you can hear like if it's a pick player or a slap player where you can hear the bass a little bit more pronounced, like Fieldy from Korn, for example.
Okay.
So with me, I'm not a slap person. I'm just doing the, pick thing. But I was talking to Brett and I just told him, sent him the video. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got one of those in the shop." I'm just like, "Of course you do." Of course you do.
I was going to set you up, but what's this have to do with 80s and 90s hip hop?
Well, because like I was just sitting there and I think I was listening to like NWA, and I was just listening to like their bass
The joke writes
lines.
itself, though. You got the Chronic.
Yeah. Well, the Chronic followed after.
Didn't even come first.
Because the I could hear the bass line so clearly, and I'm just like, wow, everything's like sounds so like simplistic, but it's so effective. Like if you like listen to
Things that
Forgot
make
About
you groove.
Dre, it's the same bass tone pattern in the song, and like it doesn't change. It just repeats from start to finish, and I just sat there and I just listened and I figured it out.
And it feels good the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what, drove me to it. I wouldn't necessarily say that weed was entirely the reason. I would say it's just I found a different
Kinda focused you
appreciation.
into that.
Yeah. And I found out that bass playing to me is actually, it feels comfortable. Like way comfortable. I love playing it. Like I don't know what it is about it. Like
Trust me, we need more decent bass players out there.
well, I don't know.
Thank you, Nick. That's all I can say.
Well, I don't know what it is about it, but it's like I just love that I'm a part of making people move.
I walked
Yeah.
away from a compliment. What did you say?
He's talking about liking how it is to play bass, and I was putting it upon him that he's a good guitar player, so I'm just assuming he's going to be a really good bass player. And I was like, we need more good bass players out there. So thank you, Nick, for being one of those good bass players out there. Because, yeah, this whole thing is about getting people to move. Because every time I'm on stage, I learned this from Hat. So thank you, Sean Bowe, for this a long time ago. And it's just so simple. Why don't people think of this in the first place? It's just that don't worry about that person that's in front of you having a great time. You got them. Don't have to worry about that. You got to worry about that guy in the back who's playing solitaire and, not paying attention at all. You want to get their attention.
Right.
And then you got something going. So every time when I'm playing, I'm waiting, I'm looking for people bobbing their head or moving around, or if the kids are dancing, you got something
Mm-hmm.
before the liquid courage comes and takes over a little bit more.
Right.
But so it's so simple. So it's basically the same thing. You make a move, yeah, you got something going.
Well,
So-
and that's always been like, now that I'm looking back on it a little bit clearer, it's always been something that I've been drawn to. Like the reason why I listened to Korn is because it made me feel something. Not not just like in an emotional level, but also like it got me to like move, and like I feel that like the most effective songs that I've listened to have always had the simplest things, and that just makes you move in some way. And I absolutely love that about this instrument, is that it's such an underrated, part of a band, is that, this is a foundation of what
Yes.
make people
Yes.
move.
Everyone likes to see the flash. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like a side story of me today in church
Right.
is that I was basically, both drummers were there today, and he got the slow ones and I got the fast ones for whatever reason. So it looked, Aaron, if you're watching this is all allegedly, but it looked like I had more control of what was going on, which is absolutely not the thing. It's like when you're playing slower, you got to definitely have a little more emotion into it and everything else. If you're playing fast, you just throw a bunch of crap down,
Mhm.
and people think it's neat. But that's kind of like guitar. You see someone shredding a little bit, even though it could be like the same pattern over and over and over again that they learn when they're 3.
Right.
And everyone thinks that that's like rock god shit. But then you got someone laying down a fat bass line just sitting right in the pocket. And you can feel that. You know it's there, but it goes unnoticed, at least for the most part.
Well, the other thing, too, is, like, I mean, there was a lot of influence for the bass thing. Like, my brother played bass, and I would break into his room and play his bass all the time. Like, when he'd go to his dad's. I've said that story.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for a while. Okay.
Yeah, so, like, and that was, like, when I was, like, because my brother was 4 years older than me. I don't remember how old we were, but I just went in there and just, noodled around on it. And, I mean, my brother listened to all that hardcore stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah. You had to.
like, that was his thing. And it's super cool that, like my brother attempted to play bass, and then, like, he found out that, like, it wasn't his thing. But somehow that, like when I sat down and started learning like guitar all those years ago, like, everything is such a blur now. Like, I don't, like, remember like
the fate of time.
The frustrations of the beginning. I just know what I'm capable of, like, now, and I am trying to, like, understand, like, okay, like, how come this was so hard in the beginning? But he actually him and I had a conversation, like, this was like years ago, but he was actually jealous of my ability, because I sat down and just practiced and dedicated myself to the craft of music. And my brother always has supported my music endeavors, and so has my mom, so has my sister, and a lot of my other family members as well, because, like, it's just super cool. Like, when we opened up for Lacuna Coil, like,
that was the name of the band.
My brother,
that's what I keep forgetting.
My brother did a shout out for me on Facebook, because he was very proud of me at that point, because growing up, Lacuna Coil was one of his favorite bands, and it was just super funny to me that I'm just over here. I'm like, yeah, I'm opening for them in like 10 minutes.
Like, oh, situation.
And it was like a cool situation. It was a super cool situation. But yeah, no, like, my brother had bass, and I just wanted to kind of get a different view on music, and I didn't know that I was going to get this deep into it. I mean, I have a lot of influences going into this as a, bass player and all that stuff, but, like, I mean, it's just another tool to the collection, and it just so happens to be my favorite, like,
which is great
way to express myself right now.
As I always say, if you can play bass and you can sing, you'll never starve. There's always somebody looking for you.
Yeah, I wish I could do this, the latter, but then again, I've never really had a.
They're trying to get me to sing in choir today. I'm like, you want this ruined?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, no, I'd rather not. This voice isn't really for, like, talking.
Yeah, best part about the pirate gig is that I give myself a microphone, but that's just for me talking smack in the back of the room. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, and we didn't have. I didn't have a microphone when you and I were performing together or anything, and that's the way I kind of preferred it, because I'm just like, I just want to look flashy and just do what we're supposed to do that night, and just
absolutely
have people have fun, and that definitely was.
I just like engaging with people. So
yeah.
It's just like you see people out there. My whole thing, the Gen X versus Gen Zs. I think you're a millennial, so.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so you fall in with Nick, the voice of God over there.
Hey.
You dang millennials.
So I dropped a DI box by you.
We got a squeeze 'em. What?
There's a DI box right next to
DI
Casey there.
box. Uh-oh. There is one right there. Casey, Livewire.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. And there should be a cable, too. You can plug your bass in.
Oh, my gosh. So Casey's got to talk about this fancy guitar that Brett talked him into, or he talked himself into, but Brett just had. There's a story behind this.
Yeah, so...
And Nick approves, and that's a tough putt. We're just going to say that.
Yeah,
and
so basically...
like Nick knows what he wants.
Like, basically with this bass and everything, so... After watching that video, I went into Flatland, and after, I saw Brett and everything, and I started playing on it, and I just, like, play, like one passage that I knew, and I'm not sure if I can even hear it, but
just
it's
give me
like...
1 second. Go and play a little bit. Ooh, nope, we got some ground noise.
and that's kind of what like hooked me on it.
Is that the ghost
So
thing?
Casey,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to come in there. There was some issues. 1 second.
Oh, sure.
Man, yeah, we got to play that over again. That was clean.
Yeah.
So while our IT guy is figuring all this stuff out, this is not Nick.
Oh man. There we go. Yeah. But
We need new cables.
no, it's like been a super fun thing to just learn. I absolutely love learning it. I actually chose flat wounds instead of the traditional strings because I found that the flat wounds to me sound a lot deeper. And
Fair enough.
they sound a lot deeper, and they're just so nice to like play with like on because it's just you can actually just glide across a string without having to put too much effort through it.
So the action's real nice.
Yep.
Doesn't tear up your fingers or whatever.
Nope. And the flat wounds to me just feel just so good because they just remind me of like just my regular guitar strings. So I'm just like, okay, like this is probably workable because that's what I noticed when I played it the first time. I'm just like, huh, interesting. There you go.
There we are.
So
Yep. So those are like flat wounds. Put one below. If you don't like flat wounds, put two. You want the round ones.
right.
So you can start the war down there.
So like the thing that I like about the bass the most is like I have my like blends, my blend here for my pickups and everything. This is my tone, and then I have my low frequency and my high frequency. So when I mess with like these like ones, so like I can give it more bass if I want with the bottom one.
More bass with the bass.
And then this one here, no, it kind of dampens it a little bit, less edge. See?
Yep.
So I have my own leveling with this, but it's really solid bass. I like the balance of it, but the tone of it is probably my favorite one, which is just, you know, I'm just gonna play something like off like my covers list, just going. I like the bass sound, especially with like my rig, because like what I'm using on like my rig at home with my Helix, I'm using I believe I'm using an Ampeg head, and then I actually have a impulse response for a Mesa Mega bass cab. So basically, what the impulse response is. And I'm going to try to explain this the best
the
that I
dumb
could.
drummer, yeah.
Is a person recorded the speaker and how it works
Okay.
with like
So
different
it's like
microphones.
an emulator.
In a way, yeah, because they're taking a scientific approach to get the amp sounds and the cabinet sounds, so that way they can make it into an impulse response block, and you can put that into like a Kemper, you can put it into an Axe-Fx, Helix, whatever it is. So the one that I use is a Mesa, is a Mega bass cab that is based off of the Mesa Boogie cabinet.
Okay.
Because I love my Mesa Boogie cabinets, but I love my Ampeg heads.
So how big is this piece of equipment you're talking about?
Probably from where my foot is right here to about here.
So it's just a pedal?
Yeah, it's just a pedal.
Oh gosh.
And I just run
Okay.
that into my computer, and that's how I, handle all my guitar recordings, bass recordings, because it all goes into my interface. And then I go into, like, let's say Reaper. I'll record the track, and then play or record. I'll record the track, then record video for the track, and make sure that the video lines up. And then I put the video off to the side and work on the actual track individually with each instrument. That, make sure that everything lines up. Done. So send it off. That's what I do for all my videos.
Oh, okay.
Giving me PTSD for what I do.
That's about it. So when was the last time you put a video out?
I believe just recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
because I believe I just did a cover of Ghost Lacrima.
Because what do you do these on? You do it on Facebook?
Just my personal Facebook right now because I'm shy.
Because I'm shy.
Yeah.
Casey doesn't need to be shy.
No. But I have been kind of considering if I ever found a good studio space or a place to go to where I could actually do all that stuff and record and maybe do it as a
kind of like Eight
teacher.
Side Studios.
Yeah, right. There's a plug for you.
There you go. For anyone out there thinking about doing the same thing, great space here. You like the red? I really love the red.
I like the red. I like how it's accented. But the recording process for me has always been the manic part because I want everything to line up and I want everything to be good because I
That's the point of a studio.
I'm so scared of what people are gonna say. Oh, he messed up. Oh, he messed up this part or something, the whole.
See, that's the thing about today, and this from teaching too, is that you notice that the students, if they can't play it exactly how they hear it on the record within 5 seconds, then you just don't know how to teach.
Right.
That's basically how they're and you're just no, you learn from your mistakes.
Right.
And now if you listen to old albums from the 70s and stuff, and the 60s, there's mistakes all over these things. Mm-hmm. I remember it was a jazz guy. I think it was Ed Thigpen, but don't quote me on that. Allegedly, and he was doing this clinic, and he was talking about how he was playing a drum track, and he kept missing the rim shot, just kept hitting the rim. I think Ed Soph was talking about this from UNT, but don't quote me on any of this. It's just another hearsay story. But basically, so they're listening. Ed Soph and his friends are listening to this recording. And they noticed that it was kept hitting the rim, and they thought that was the new hip thing to do. So they all started practicing just hitting the rim, not realizing that literally he was just missing the rim shot. And they just left it in. And when they finally confronted, again, I'm going to say Ed Thigpen, it might not be him at all. It might. Right. That's the name that's coming to my brain. About oh yeah, we loved it when you're just hitting the rim, and he just looks at him just I just missed the rim shot. Mm. And so that's part of the music, is not being just strictly on top of it. But yeah, I know with today's day and age, it's everything can be so scrubbed and manicured and everything else, is that everyone just expects that. Mm. So to me, it delivers over into live music too, is that was one of my best seats I've ever had. Was, I think we were second or third row, center in the Fargo Dome, watching Boston. Perfect seats. I mean, you can literally smell these guys from the stage.
Nice.
But they played everything exactly, note for note, what was on the record. And to me, that was just boring. You sat there and you might as well just turn the record on. You guys stand there so you're there. But what did you do with this? Did you progress? Did you do something else? Is there going to be little idiocracies that are going to be happening along with that? So,
well, there's a lot of guitar players that you see.
It's just an argument on my side.
Well,
it's why do we need to be so?
Well, this kind of coins in with my research on how I go about learning songs and everything. I look at live footage all the fucking time.
Yeah,
all the time. And the best thing that I've ever seen, because when you see your favorite bands and everything, you know all their songs, you know how they're gonna go.
Yep.
And anytime, and I'm just gonna call them out on this, and anytime I see Jimra from Slipknot, doing any form of live performance or videos, I can almost guarantee I know he's not gonna play it exactly the same. because he changes it up.
I think that makes it fun.
And I
It's
love
just-
that
that's what it
because
is.
that's where it like catches like your ear. Like I didn't know like in the on their, I believe it was Iowa record for man, what song is that? I'm having a hard time remembering.
Slippy Doodles.
Left Behind, actually. So that was probably I think the third Slipknot song I heard. The first one was Spit It Out, which was super good off their first album. But with Left Behind, like I didn't like my ear when I first listened to it. It wasn't nearly as like trained as it is now.
Yeah.
And when I decided to learn the song, I found a nuance in there that I didn't even know existed in the song until I learned the part, and then I listened for it, and I'm like, there it is. And I didn't hear it, but it's basically just a little octave scale run that he does. And it's amazing.
Magic in the mix.
Right.
Yeah, all the little stuff that you just missed, but yeah.
Well,
it's
even
music,
like,
you can never master it.
well, like even like when you and I played live too, I mean, like not every like show and gig was perfect. I mean,
No.
even professionals make mistakes too, and that adds to the human aspect of it.
I just think it makes it good.
Yep.
It really does.
Well, like we could.
You can end together and start together. You know, what happens in the middle? It's a conversation.
Well, and I could pull up any of my guitar videos that I've done, and I could easily point out any mistake, because like every one of them is not perfect. Like I get to the point in the process where I'm just like, all right, I'm done. Like, good enough, just ship it.
Yeah,
You know.
but why do people have to be so nitpicky about that? Other than the fact that there's nothing else to do besides watch somebody else and try to tear you down because they
I
can.
don't know, because in the day and age that we live in is like, cyberbullying isn't taken nearly as seriously as it should be. And it's a huge problem, because you could have Joe Schmo from wherever, I don't care, and they could be in their parents' basement just typing away at stuff that they wish they could do.
Yeah.
And to me, in my opinion, like, is there like a time and place to like say something as far as like, something of that was unjust and speaking out on something, of course. But when it comes to like music and everything, I have an open ear, because I don't want to shut myself off from something that could change my approach. Like, prime example, like when I was talking to you before I came in here, I discovered a new band like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. We got to get into that.
And like I was looking at some of the stuff, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, this is just something that I've seen before, like especially when you are, kind of into like the occult stuff, just strange things, weird things, just weird things here and there. But like
That's
with
what everyone's into. Well, not what everyone's into, but everyone's.
well,
got a
I've
thing.
always been into like, oddities and all that stuff too, because I mean, I'm odd myself, so I'm just like, oh, so I like I'll find like some cool stuff like when I go on my travels to go visit my my other half and everything, and find some cool knickknacks when we're doing our little adventures, and it's a lot of fun, actually, tons of fun. But the band that I found, they're called Dogma. And
Dogma.
it is.
Now, here's the thing. You got to tell me how you found new bands. It's kind of an argument on my side for what's coming out lately, is that everybody that's been learning stuff is all stealing the stuff from the Gen X's. So even you millennials, even though you got that 2000 stuff, that's, pretty much yours. But
Yeah.
everyone who comes in, they want to learn a song. It's all from the 90s, 80s, maybe 2000s, maybe. But past that, it's nothing. And it's just, it's mainly because of the internet. At least that's my explanation of it. It's just that the oversaturation of all this stuff, it gets to the point where it turns into noise. Is that I heard a statistic that like last year there was one song produced that was actually set out per second of the entire year. So how long would it take you to hear the entire year's catalog? Just
I don't want to be
exactly. So how do you look for this stuff? What's the process? What have you been doing?
Me, I've been on Spotify for years.
Okay.
And Spotify will always recommend like bands that they think that you might like.
So the AI.
Yeah.
We'll get to that too.
Yeah. So this time,
The algorithm.
like I've been like listening to Ghost so much, and because their new album to me was really, really good. Had a lot of really great bass lines, a lot of good lyrical content too. So I picked that up. I actually picked that one up on vinyl.
Vinyl?
Yep, that was my. That is actually my first purchased record.
Oh, really?
Yep, Skeleton vinyl, pink vinyl edition. And then I went into Orange Records, not even like I think like a month and a half later, and they had Infestissimum 2018 reprint on a black and white marble record, and it was $80. So I snagged it because that's my favorite album. But
it's a disease. It's okay. Physical media is great.
With Dogma, like I was just scrolling on my phone because I had a little bit of downtime at I think I was at my girlfriend's parents' place or something, and I just like heard a snippet. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? And look to see, I'm like, okay, they got a bunch of singles and everything like that, and one album released in 2023. Okay, let's just listen to this. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Like, okay, the setup is nuns talking about satanic stuff. I'm in. Sold. So
it reminds me of Friday the 13th we saw last couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
I'll talk about that later.
But when I was listening to the album and everything, I'm just like, I can't point out one bad song on this fucking album. Like
it just spoke to you.
It was interesting, but I'm like, for a first album, I'm like, it's really interesting that it sounds as good as it does, and I am just. Like, there's so much mystery behind the band, and I want to know more about them. It's, like, no different when, like, Ghost first, started out, like, before the Tobias Forge's identity was revealed. It was kind of like that whole mystery aspect of it. Although, apparently from my research that I have found on, like, because they have fans on Reddit and everything, and apparently they have, like, 327,000 people that listen to them, which I'm guessing is... good majority is overseas, because I think they're definitely from the overseas for sure.
Oh, really?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. So
that's but they sing in English, which is interesting because it's very clear.
Like ABBA.
ABBA?
Yeah.
Where's ABBA from?
Sweden.
Sweden?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So with the band Dogma, the first song that I heard was like Father I've Sinned, and everything that they have is all religious based. And I'm like, okay, the songs are good. Now we move on to the music videos, because that's where I'm like, okay, I gotta see what these people look like besides photos. Jaw drops, because they're just ridiculously good looking and talented, all of them. And apparently they've had a lot of lineup changes since they started in 2021, because that's what the post that I was reading was saying.
2021.
And they do have
2 years ago.
They have the name for the first lead singer, and that's the one that I heard, and I loved her voice. And basically now they have
so nuns. So these are all actual females.
Yeah.
Oh.
At least to my knowledge. Yes.
Okay.
The main person, they're going off of like biblical names. So like the lead singer is Lilith, and there's a lot of their songs are entirely like, they're super good, but they're really sexually driven. Like their song Forbidden Zone is a fucking banger. It's so good. It sounds amazing. It's catchy.
Dogma. Okay. I gotta check this out.
Just good, man. Like, I don't find new bands too terribly often, but this one's shrouded in so much mystery, and I want to find out more about it. And yeah, that's kind of how I find new music. And with the vinyl stuff, I'm gonna be starting to collect there, but I'm doing that the old school way of just like looking around.
So what do you got for a turntable?
I haven't picked one up yet.
Just buying vinyl?
Yeah, well, the Skeleton one and the Infestissimum, that one, those two are framed.
Okay.
Because the Skeleton one is special because it's the first record I bought, and that's kind of Ghost is my girlfriend and I's favorite band.
Okay.
So
you're still listening to it digitally.
Yep, I listen to it digitally, but this is where my idea comes in, is what I want to do is I want to get my vinyl player and I want to hook it up to my computer and then record the sessions and put them on my phone so that way I can listen to the vinyl wherever I go. And I know how to kind of way engineer that. Which shouldn't be
Would
too
that
terribly
give a
hard.
warmer tone there, Nick?
It would just give the vinyl tone.
Vinyl tone?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the digital tone, it'd be the vinyl tone.
It would be the mastering that the vinyl master did instead of the digital master.
Okay, we may need to do a master class on this at some point. Because and
it's been
I
something.
believe it. There'd be a different way that they'd set it up, but
Well, and like my theory was like, okay, like can't I just use the like outs on the backside and just plug that into a mixer
oh yeah, it's like
Yeah,
a
you
DAW
could totally
thing.
do
right?
that.
and then use like Audacity or something.
Yeah.
And just like you're gonna have to probably like take notes of like cut lines.
Yep.
And all that stuff. But that to me is like what makes like the process so much more fun. Because it's just like, okay, cut here, note, cut here, and then you just, make those markers, go to that point, cut that, and then that's how I think it would work. I haven't tried it out yet because I don't have
You
a vinyl player.
millennials
You're
and your
literally
editors.
you literally hit the note. That's exactly how you would do it.
What's that?
That's exactly how you would do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that's just something fun for me, and with that collector edition record, I will spin that at least once.
That's cool. I'm just happy that more people get into the analog stuff, so you actually get back to physical media again. And it's not because that the digital stuff all on the internet is bad. It's just there's so much of it, and this way you actually have to sit down and focus on it instead of just like listening to it once. And that's where I'm going to step into the AI thing, because this is basically how you found these guys. Dogma is because AI basically said, "Hey, you like these guys? Maybe you'll like these guys."
Yeah.
Now, how many times has this happened in the past where you've actually checked out other bands and maybe they didn't fit, or you didn't look so much at them, or maybe you just ignored it completely? Is this? I'm not saying this is new, because that's how I find a lot of things on YouTube. But
Now you pose a question, I'm sure it's happened more than a handful of times.
okay,
At least. I mean, because like the last time I remember, like finding a band and fully diving into like their whole spiel was when I had auditions with you when you had Avatar Let It Burn on the board.
oh God, Let It Burn.
Yep.
Oh,
And
that was a great tune.
Avatar has actually became a like staple not only in my relationship but also a staple in my relationship with my sister too.
Yeah. Okay.
So like my sister moved away. I'm not gonna say where. But my sister moved away, and right before she moved, Avatar came to town one last time, and I had a sign and everything saying,
posting photos.
yep.
Now,
"Yep, she got a drumstick from that show."
Ah!
Drummer was super ecstatic about it, super happy, and he just went to his set, got a stick. I gave it to my sister, and that was that. And like it's very rare that I ever find like a new band, but now that I've been like exposed to what my girlfriend listens to, like I've listened to like a whole bunch of different stuff, like some kids stuff here and there, like as well, because it's mixed in, but like they have like metal versions of it too, which kind of makes it more fun. But like Pink and some other bands, like more poppy bands sometimes, but my girlfriend listens to metal too. She listens to pretty much almost everything.
Which seems to be like I'm gonna say the newer kids, the younger kids. As I work with a guy, I was like, Engelbert Humperdinck is one of his favorite artists.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I thought the same way, but then it was like my daughter, she just loves listening to the crooners. So, you put on who am I thinking of here? They wear hats and stuff. Like from the Rat Pack and stuff, where they have those people. And she just
Bing Crosby,
yeah, Bing Crosby, other ones.
Frank Sinatra.
Sinatra is what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm thinking of. But like that's what she plays in her car. Literally. And that's what this guy does. I mean, I brought him albums because you can find Engelbert Humperdinck anywhere for like a nickel.
Yeah.
So I just pick him up for him, and he's so ecstatic when I bring him in. He's like, "Oh my gosh, where'd you find this?" I'm like, "Everywhere."
Everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just interesting that. And then Dan Fogelberg, we're at our last rehearsal, and they're playing Dan Fogelberg. I'm like, why are you Gen Z's playing Dan Fogelberg? And then they're like, wasn't this great? And I'm like, I guess, I don't know. That's something that kind of like completely skipped over back then.
I feel like it kind of rings true to my earlier statement. As long as it moves, people will listen.
Yeah, well, that's probably it. But I just remember that we'd be like not hyper focused, but focused on a genre. It's like I remember growing up, and if we could understand the lyrics, you weren't really allowed to listen to that unless it was Metallica or Megadeth.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like,
So-
I mean, it's the same kind. Like, to me, it's like wherever you find music is wherever you find music, because it's supposed to happen like for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why Dogma decided to show up in my playlist and all that stuff, but
But it's
they can
supposed
stay. They can stay. I absolutely love it. But my playlist is just long, and I don't like kind of consider myself in one genre, but I do like the heavier side of things because it's more creative, more creative for me personally to be a part of something that does have like, okay, I need to have something that has a little bit of an edge to it.
Well, I say it's a new classical.
Right.
It's technically a little more up there.
Because I like I just like things that, like, when I listen to music, I focus on two things of like movement, and then the second thing that I focus on is just like, okay, how does it make me feel? Does it get me that extra push that I need, like that extra adrenaline, or maybe a dopamine hit or something, or I hear something so cool in the song and I want to listen to it over and over again, But no, like with Spotify, they're actually not too terribly bad about recommending new artists, and like I think
Or do you see a lot of artists that you've already known before? Or...
there's been a couple times where they've recommended one. I think one of them was actually like Metalcross, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've listened to these guys, so I just hit follow. Because I'm like, oh, I thought I already followed these people, but no, just do a follow right there, and then I can just have access to their catalog.
Yeah, so it just brings me to like writing new music and stuff. I don't know how much you've delved into that. I know you play a lot of the cover stuff, which is absolutely fine. But it's like, how do you get your stuff seen now? So you're talking about the AI. It's like, do you latch on to a certain, or that's probably even the wrong question, is that you're listening to a lot of Ghost and everything else, and then this Dogma pops in. So that has a correlation to Ghost?
Yeah, I would say like lyrically it does, and how they're like presented.
Okay, so that's where
'Cause
the AI would pick up
I
on
would
it and
I
put
would
it in your
assume
suggestion?
so.
Okay.
I would assume so. It's based off of like, because I absolutely hate that like all of us are being tracked, but what the fuck ever. So I think when they're like, whenever you're listening to something like in Spotify,
Yep.
like it's just gonna give an idea of like different bands of just like, oh, based off of this band, we think you might like this. It's kind of like with what Netflix does with your watching history. Same sort of idea and philosophy.
Okay. But I'm just saying how you can work that into your own.
As far as
Benefits.
that part goes, like I have never written an original song, not once. And have I tried? Multiple times. Have I succeeded? Absolutely not. Because
We love you, Casey.
the delete button is so damn shiny for how many times
So
I've hit
big.
it.
It's so big.
It makes you want to squeeze.
Control Z.
Squeeze me.
Like I'll just like I'll have a good idea or something like that, and I hear it and I'm like, this sounds like garbage. And I try to build off of it, and then I'm like, nope. And just hit delete. But, like, I mean, some of the best songs I've heard, including, like, you know, bass lines and everything, like Square Hammer, or no, not Square Hammer, From the Pinnacle to the Pit. Tobias actually wrote that on bass first. That's why it starts off with the bass.
Makes sense.
Well, and he's gone on multiple interviews about it and everything, and it's been, you know, like, I really, like, Ghost has, like, helped me kind of, like, really just bring it back and focus on the groove aspect of it, because, like, the newer Ghost stuff is very, very groovy, and so is the older stuff too, with the original lineup and whatnot. With my favorite album with Infestissimum, like the album just has like a very
These names are so
interesting feel to it, as far as like the drum patterns and the bass patterns, that is just so mesmerizing to listen to. Like Idolatrine is probably my favorite track off that, but my second one's I'm a Marionette. So it would be songs for people that are watching and you to check out later.
Yes,
Because
absolutely. That's why it's fun talking to you.
Right.
Or everybody is just that they come in with this different genres and ideas and whatever else, and yeah.
Well, and I always try to add something new to my roster. Like my girlfriend, for example, she added something to my roster this year as well, and that's Nightwish. And they're super duper good too. Like their song "Bye Bye Beautiful" is amazing. It sounds super good, and just a super catchy guitar riff, super catchy lyrics. Just gives me that energy.
Again, newer band, right?
They think they've been around for a while.
A while?
Yeah.
Nick, can we look that one up? Nightwish?
I will look it up.
Thank you. Oh, see, look at that producing.
Yeah, love it.
Put on that Goog machine. See what's going on with that. No, it's just the whole thing. It's just about the AI and what's coming up and being able to find new stuff and all that other. It's just that.
I think it's just
such a barrier to entry, but there's got to be ways not to play the system, but to work the system in order for like new stuff to come in, because everyone's listening to Nirvana again. I have students that come in and they can't even pronounce the name of the album that's on the thing, because basically they thought it was a cool T-shirt and everyone knows who Nirvana is, right? But can they name 3 tracks off that album? Probably not.
right.
So
Nightwish has been around since 1996.
96. Wow.
You want to know what the funny thing is about
That's
that?
almost 30 years.
You want to know what the funny thing is about that? I was 4 years old when they came
They're
out.
4 years old. Oh, Lord. I was 2 years out of high school.
Jeez.
I'm
But-
an old man.
Yeah, she got me into Nightwish, and I was like, when I heard Bye Bye Beautiful, I'm just like, oh wow, that was actually a really good song. So I listened to them quite a bit, and there's like other like bands like that I've known about that I've rediscovered again, like Ninja Sex Party and Pink and all them too.
Okay.
So because I've listened to Pink before. I listened to Pink in high school. My sister had like her first CD and everything. So, and I always thought from the get-go that Pink was incredibly talented. I loved her music, and I loved how she did not give 2 shits about a fucking thing. And
Sometimes
she's
they gotta be.
and her shows are amazing. Like I see them on YouTube all the time. I've never attended one personally, but my girlfriend has, and she's just like, it is a spiritual experience because it's just, you know, Pink doing her thing. And then she has the acrobatic part of it where she is actually in a harness and she flies around the arena. So, and she sings during the whole thing too.
Peter Pan, this stuff, that'd be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I was thinking that too. Anyways, it's like,
What's that?
just that she just kind of floats around on those acrobatic things.
Yeah, she has
I
like,
was like, is that or is that another one of those?
well, she has like posts that she lands on too in the audience from what I saw.
Oh wow!
So that way she can interact with people in like the back and everything like that too. And she
That's
trained
a
her.
crazy idea, but that's
She
kind of
trained
like
herself too how to sing while doing that, especially upside down. So that's why she can sing doing that, because she has actually had a trainer how to do that.
Like sitting in the bat cave,
Yeah, pretty much.
singing upside down. Oh, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
man.
It's like Tommy Lee doing the old flips,
Mhm.
being able to play upside down. Man, it always wonders, like, what happens if you drop a drumstick? Like, how do you get in the other one? Would they be Velcroed in? But then how? Damn.
Maybe.
I'm thinking too much about this.
No, the
Never mind. Let's go back to the AI
Yeah.
thing. Is so that in my mind, or not my mind, but what's been happening lately is that there's now a bunch of platforms that you can literally type in just like what kind of music you want to hear, and it'll write the lyrics for you. It'll make up the chord progression for you. It'll put the instrumentation for you, and it'll write you the song all within like seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a 3-minute tune of anything that you just picked out. That doesn't mean it's going to be great. Doesn't mean it's going to be terrible. But nowadays you can customize any tune to whatever you want to listen to. And does that, since everything's already oversaturized, does that take away from it? Is that what's going to be the future? Is that we just basically just going to stop producing as humans music? That's not going to happen.
I don't think that will ever happen.
But is that just going to add to the chaos that's happening now? And then that just means that us Gen Xers can just say, yeah, we own you.
I don't know. I feel like it's
Skid Row, remember those guys? Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Like I don't know how to necessarily answer that question, because I feel like there is a benefit to like the AI stuff, especially for EDM music, specifically. Like for the technology aspect of it within like their instrumentations. As far as like making putting in a configuration to make a song and everything without touching an instrument, like that to me just sounds monotonous and boring. Because
But it'll write you a song. So if you're in a mood and you just want to hear something about something and and you just like literally you go in there and you talk to your pod, whatever else, like iNest, write me blah 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 blah, and then you go into the next room and then you have your pop song going that gets you going with your act or whatever your activity you're involved in.
The only thing I have to say on that is that if that is the way things are gonna go and that's what people want, that is fucking sad.
Well, that's what I'm kind of wondering is like, would people want that? And it's like when you brought up the EDM thing, which is very interesting. And then think of that twist, is that every time I hear EDM, it doesn't matter what it is. You know what it is, but does it have to be the same every time? Do people actually know those patterns?
No, I don't think so, because like when I think EDM,
curious.
like when I think EDM, there's actually a very, very cool artist. He's actually going to be in town here in a couple weeks.
Interesting.
Mark Reblay.
Mark Reblay, shout out.
He does all of his stuff on the spot. All of his, like, from what I've seen.
Does he have like that color thing that you sit there and...
Well, he has his pad, and then he has his
that's
keyboard and his laptop, and he makes all of his stuff on site.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
he's amazing. Like, you gotta look up a YouTube video of him making something on site. And he has quite a bit of stuff out there, and this guy is fucking funny. Like the way the way that he moves, the way that his facial expression is, the way he presents himself as a performer is fucking hilarious.
And he's improvising the entire time.
Yeah, I mean,
so
like,
is this where the jazz thing comes into play?
Like for him, I found him on YouTube, and I think that's the platform that he is on primarily.
Okay.
But he does have a Spotify that I follow as well. And from what I've seen, like I saw when he did a live, just woke up in the morning, he did a live show. And he made a new morning alarm clock in that live session, and it's hilarious.
So how long has this person been in the industry?
I honestly have not looked at the dates. What's the name again?
We can go to the Google machine.
Mark Reblay, and I think maybe
Mark Reblay.
I think
Is it going to the aquarium, I'm assuming?
No, he's going to be at the I think he's over here, at the Alaris Center.
At the Alaris Center?
Yeah, here in town.
EDM at the Alaris Center? Wow.
At least I think that's where he's going to be.
Well, I'm not doubting you. It's just that.
Well, I think because I can't go.
I missed the boat on this whole thing. I didn't know it grew up that big. So.
Yeah. Well, he's doing a tour that says places that I'll never tour again. Tour, and I'm just like, oh, that's funny. But he's like I discovered him actually through Aaron, because Aaron gives me a lot of music too to listen to. But I discovered Mark Reblay through him, and when I told Aaron that Mark Reblay was coming to Fargo, he's like, Beat Daddy's coming. Because he's just really good at making beats and like the mix and everything, and he actually has and he actually makes shirts that say that, I think, on his like website. Voice of God, what have you found? Tell us your wishes and desires.
Did you want me to look up Mark Reblay?
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, I'll do that right now.
Yeah, it's like, how long has this guy been around?
I think he's been around for a while.
Okay.
Not
What's he
like
playing,
a
like-
while, not like Nightwish a while.
No, but still, it's like EDM getting that
I would,
big. I always thought that was like some club thing he did, and everyone just sprayed like fluorescent stuff on each
No,
other.
I mean, like, no, and like with the
Don't take
like,
the purple whatevers.
and no, and like with the people that I know that do go to those shows and everything, like, I mean, EDM shows are pretty much everywhere. And from all the photos I've seen of them, like, you know what? I'm happy for the people that can't go to those stuff, because that looks like a fucking blast. But for me personally, no thanks. I like my venues a little bit more intimate than
That's a
outside
good word for
festival.
it. It's like squeezing the old noodles. We gotta get a name for this guy. Can't call him Top Ramen.
I still
But
haven't
that's
thought
still
about
Oh,
it.
that's the guy. Okay.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
But that
okay.
still brings back to that whole idea of the AI writing the stuff for you. If this guy's doing this on the fly,
Mhm.
how do you know that like the kids that might be the new class being able to just tell the AI what it wants and be specific enough where it gets back the reports that it wants to? Or maybe AI will just get that smart that it just kind of watches what you're doing and it just writes stuff for you.
And it could be something
Or
as
maybe people don't even want to listen to stuff anymore.
well, and maybe it might be like one of those things where it might take what you're listening to and try to fast track it that way. But I mean, in my opinion, I don't think that to me that's just not like the way that it should be.
Yeah, well,
Because it takes all the human aspect out of it, because that's what makes music, such a tangible thing for people to connect to, is because, there's emotion behind it. I feel like with something that's automatically created by a couple hand gestures and a word,
Yep.
that's not human emotion.
It's not, because you're working with ones and zeros in the digital age.
Right.
But here's the thing, is that the quantum computers are getting more powerful as we go along. And the quantum computers don't work with ones and zeros. They work with everything in between. Now, I heard a long time ago, and I can't remember the name of the guy who was doing a TEDx talk, and he was explaining how music is between the ones and the zeros. That's where the humanity comes into play, and I frickin' love that. It makes perfect sense to me. But if we're able to get to that point where we can do that and are able to emulate each other that well, and we were talking about this with Mark last week, is that he was saying something about like Beck coming out with or Beatles, write me a Beatles album, and then the AI writes you a Beatles album, just spawns it right there. Is it going to be the same?
No.
Could it be the same?
Possibly, but any trained ear is going to try to find those mess ups, those nuances.
Yeah, but would we want that? That's the whole thing.
I do.
Okay.
I definitely want the ability to hear, like, prime example, if we're using the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like if I'm listening to a automated track that is one for one with Sgt. Pepper,
Yep.
an original one, I'm gonna be looking for anything that is imperfect. Like if I know that, okay, this one was made via AI and this one is the original, and they switched them up or something like that, and they told me, all right, figure out which one's the vinyl and which one's the, or figure out which one's which, right? So how I'll go about it is just, okay, stringed instruments, where's the mess up? Where's that extra effort put into the string when it hit that note compared to that? I want to see that on a graph, because if anything's made AI, it's going to have like auto leveling and all that stuff. But like if you're just playing like in a session, doing a recording session, and it was still good, but you still have that like nuances like, oh, maybe I used a little extra pressure, like a little extra force here, and it sounded a little harder here.
So very true.
Like it's like diving into the details of stuff, and that's something that I like doing, is doing deep dives into like music in general. But like when it comes to AI stuff, like I mean, I love it as a tool. I do not like it I do not like it as a means to make music, or to make an full album on its own of like you telling it to. So using it as an instrument, as an extension of yourself, that's fine. That's the difference.
Yeah, so that word tool comes back into play again, which is that it wasn't until we were talking with some people, and I'm blowing your name right now, and I can't believe it. You're on the podcast like a month ago. Sorry, but they're explaining it's like that AI is a tool now that it's there. It's not going away. It's just like, you know, CDs and they came out. It's like you can talk about all the analog recordings you want now, but now we have digital. So are you going to embrace it or are you going to ignore it? Mm-hmm. So using it for your advantage. And I know there's been a lot of talk of like kids cheating on homework and stuff because they have the AI do it for them, or you hear about the idea like the AI made a news report and it was just completely wrong, type of things. But I'm not saying that could be completely wrong. But are you able to like start taking AI and then having it do the creative stuff for you, and then you just put it into your own little tweaked idea, or you actually play the ideas? So there's the humanity involved, but you actually didn't write it. It was the computer that did it. Mm-hmm. I'm just twisting things here because I'm just trying to think about this.
Well, and that's where I would say, like, in this particular situation, if it's a music teacher and it's a hand-in project,
yeah,
I would dare say, and I think that you can agree with me, that you and I both know that any music teacher worth half a shit will know if something's real or fake.
True. That is true.
But
for professionals, are they able to do that? So you even talk about like on YouTube nowadays is that there's like certain wacky things that you can have the AI do a 6-second video or whatever, and then you can put them together, and all they do is put out these videos for whoever to watch, and they get millions of clicks, and basically they didn't do nothing other than just tell the AI to do a certain thing. They just posted it.
Well, and like with bands and everything, that's where AI has actually proved very, very useful in that aspect. Because in my opinion, like back in the day, from stories I've heard and all the research I have done ever since I started listening to music and everything, is the sheer fact that the hardest part was always starting out, throwing flyers, having a street team. Yeah. And that's what made it like kind of like a cult, not like a cult thing, but a community thing.
Yep.
It was like a very community-based thing, super cool. These days you can't do that. Like you can, and you'll have like, people that see the flyer in like the old school way, but you got to do the online presence too. And that's where, like with bands, like, with TikTok, Facebook and all that stuff, like reels are a big thing. Like a band posting really a reel is awesome. Like that is a huge advantage to the musicians, because they can see, here's our show. If you're near, come check us out. And here's a sample of our music. And you can just, bring that up to the entire world. There's pluses and minuses to AI in the music industry, but when it comes to specifically writing music, no thank you. But using them to promote yourself, such as like, social media, or using them like a synthesizer or something of that nature, using that as a tool. But programming a full song where not touching one instrument or making any adjustments to it, that to me is just kind of heartless work in a way.
What if it sells?
Then my opinion's wrong, and I'm okay with that.
Well, you know, Casey, I think we've been going for over an hour, haven't we?
Yep.
Have
and
you
Mark,
gotten a readout on that one guy?
Mark Ripley.
Yeah.
Loop Daddy.
Loop Daddy.
Yep. Loop Daddy.
Loop Daddy.
Loop Daddy's been around since 2016, but didn't get popular until COVID. He's got some really funny stuff. I think you'd enjoy it, Wade.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll have to check out
COVID.
Loop Daddy.
Yep, COVID. Yeah, no, it wasn't B Daddy, it's Loop Daddy. That's what his shirt says, is Loop Daddy for sure. Because like when I heard about him, I'm just like, who is this guy? And then I saw an interview with him, and he's just like talking,
Never heard about him.
like talking as normal, just normal dude. But when he's doing his element and everything, the guy's in a trance, man, and he gets lost. And that is the coolest part of like playing an instrument, whether it be like a synth or anything. If you can be that dedicated to it and love your music so much, you'll get found eventually. I mean, he's been around since 2016 to get popular till COVID.
Which makes sense. Everyone was locked up.
Yeah, and he
Looking
was locked
online.
up too, so probably working on stuff. People were online, and he got noticed.
But just getting big as he is, it blows my mind. So that's just new ways of finding things other than word of mouth. Still is the best way of doing it, and you know, use algorithm things. But you know, I think we've ended on that point right there. But it's been a really good time talking with you again, Casey.
Always, Wade.
So yeah,
Always.
so it's good seeing you healthy out there. Are you looking for a band right now?
Kind of, sort of. I'm trying to figure some things out in my personal life, but I've basically been dedicating myself to learning bass and being a bass player.
Okay.
I'm still going to play guitar on the side, on my sideline, on my personal time, but
And still working on the Vokes. But if you're looking for bass players, Casey Wise right here. You can find him on Facebook. Where else can he find you?
Instagram as well. But if you're looking at my guitar videos specifically, that is my Facebook.
Put the big likes up under there. See how much you appreciate that, because I always did when you put those up there. Really nice. So you can find us all from the Instagrams and down to the Tiki Taks and all the other fun stuff with the Plank Pod or the Plank Podcast, and also on YouTube and everywhere else you can find finer podcasts. Blah blah blah. We have Nick Higginson out there doing all the producing with us over at 8 Side Studios, and we are the we are the Plank Podcast, brought to you by Pirates on Cassette and all that. So Pirate on Cassette will be playing at Specs on July 25th. So if you're open that day, or mark that in your calendar or whatever else, come out and say hi, take a Polaroid, say hi to all of us out there.
Specs, so much good memories.
Man, Specs it was so welcoming there. It was just really, really fun. Really, really great environment.
love that.
So it definitely doesn't have that old school thing that people still think it does. It does not. Specs, great place to go to.
Yeah.
But you also got to remember, if your bass player or your drummer has more charisma than your front man, your band may be in trouble. But that's why my band's doing just fine. So until next time.